computer, lights.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. So, today it is October. I can't believe we've already gotten into October, but we're into October. It's kind of amazing, actually. We're going to work a little bit today on building random widgets that we need for Bellatrix Rising in 3D. So we're going to get started on that. So here we go. So we've already got Blender kind of up and running over here. And I kind of want to think a little bit about what I want to do today. Today, I think we want to do some generic vehicles. Vehicles. I like saying it like that. Vehicles. It's like T. Hickles. That T. Hickles. Your vehicles, T. Hickles. So this is yesterday's star map. I'm not sure whether I'm going to save this somewhere. It's already saved in the design book like that. So you know what? I'm just going to close that. Because it was we'll come back in and fix it later. Or come back in and work on it later, but not today. So I'm going to talk about vehicles and vehicle design. Now, there's going to have to be vehicles. There's going to have to be Jeeps and trucks and things like that. I think most of the time there will be people movers in Bellatrix Rising, but I want to come up with a design ethic for vehicles. So, like, do trains, everything should look similar. It's true of the real world. If you look outside, all the cars sort of look similar, especially with every era of vehicles that we have designed. So, kind of want to look at how we're going to do our vehicles, right? So, we're going to kind of do a little bit of work here with the brush tool. I'm going ahead and get a hard round brush tool, bring it up from something stupid. There we go. That's what we want. We're going to talk a little bit about this. Let's get in here. Let's get in here. Let's start moving. All right. Now, when I think about vehicle design, I think I have obviously pushed buttons that I shouldn't have pushed. There we go. We think about vehicle design. The chief and okie dokie. I guess it depends on which episode we're talking about now. Hello, Brent. It's good to see you, my friend. Always good to see you. So, hard round pressure size gives me the ability to do stuff like that. So we're going to do that. Let's talk about vehicle ethics. Now, kind of feel like space AG vehicles look kind of roundish like this, right? You know, some kind of round hull, maybe with a door like so, you know, kind of sort of thing, wheels here and a wheel there or something like that. This kind of looks really bizarrely like Cinderella's going to get into it or something. But I actually kind of don't want to deal with this style and ethic because this is round things are. Oh, you started episode Space Maps. Episode 7. So I was doing space maps until you got here, and then I stopped doing space. No, that's not true. I had the maps up because I'm finishing them, but it's not a problem. So anyway, okay, so we're going to apparently do the wrong stupid thing. Warp. So, talking a little bit about this, honestly, I feel like kind of the ethic that we're doing in our world is more like the 80s futuristic, because that's where, as a person, I'm kind of 80s futuristic. So, more of a rounded look, or I'm sorry, a squared look instead of the rounded look looks awesomer to me. It always has. So I'm kind of thinking about doing this, more of this kind of design ethic. Now, one of the things that we're going to do, also, I kind of like the idea of wheels that are connected here. So they're open in the center like this. I think that's always been cool. Right. So let's talk about a design ethic of which uh, cars have sort of struts that come forward and hold the wheels at the back of the wheel. It's almost like we're trying to defy gravity here. We're like, yeah, 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 whatever, gravity. Nobody likes you anyway. And the reason I'm doing this is kind of thinking through where we're going to be with this, right? I mean, do we have then like a middle section with a door? Is this a door? And then this is a door? And then like give it a trunk, which then has a wheel back here. Wouldn't it be kind of interesting also? These are kind of going, the car is kind of doing this, but suppose we had a bigger brush than that. Suppose we went the other direction and went like this, right? So the front looks like this piece here, this looks like this, and then the back looks like that, right? Or what if we did that? That's such an 80s look, like a Ferrari Testarossa sort of thing. What we're really going to do though is we're going to do these all in different pieces so that you can put a big truck box on the back, right? And then have one wheel and then one wheel like this. You can put, so you have like the front cockpit. Hi, brush. You have the front cockpit here, which is one unit, and we'll build that and then save it. And then we'll have a middle section, which is one unit, and then we'll save that. And we'll have a back section, which is one unit, and save it. That way we can have different butts on here and just stick different butts in the back. Yeah. You can have extended cabs, because then you could put the truck back here, and have like extended cabs and things. Police cars. We can put different fronts on it. Like you could have a cab over sort of front too, which looks kind of like that. But since it's 80s, we've got to kind of do this on it and like give it some rakish looks so that it could be cab over. But that way we can mix and match and come up with a number of different types of cars. And that way we can have, with only like 12 or 13 pieces, we can make an infinite number of little vehicles that tootle around in the background everywhere, and you'll see them everywhere, and you'll be like, oh, okay, that's a vehicle in Bellatrix Rising, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I get that. But you don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about like building thousands of little cars, because that would be ridiculous. We'd have a gajillion of them, and we'd be like, I hate life, I hate people, I hate everybody and stuff. And the simpler the units, the more it looks cool without actually having to do a whole lot of work, right? We could put like little widgets on the back like this, that's a simpler unit back here. And it's just a thing. And then we can add them. We can add it there, or we can then put it here, on one car it's here, and one car that same widget's there. You put a little dome thingy with widgets on it or whatever, and you can put that on the cars, or you can make it into a turret for like an armored tank for police. Speaking of police, we could have a light rack on top. All of these things make it so that you can keep manipulating the different types of vehicles, and allows us a more modular thing. The cab over should be forward like this. And we also need to remember to put a flatbed in. So wherever we need to have a flatbed. And then we have to come up with containers for on the back of the flatbed. Then we can have all of these different combos of things where we can have different vehicles that have different jobs. We are going to need them when we get to Moment. Moment is the first place in the comic book where we run into other people other than our ship. And they're going to have Jeeps or cars or something. So use a DeLorean. Yeah. Okay, let's get over to Blender. We've kind of gotten an idea of what we're after. So let's go to here. And the first thing I'm going to do is go into edit mode. We're going to select just this face here. E for extrude. That allows us to bring it up. Because if we look at our Art Deco style, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces. It's a hexagon. So we know that this is going to need to be a hexagon. I'm going to take this here and go whoop. Now remember to put it in naked mode, because if you don't put it in naked mode, it only selects the thing in front. I'm a little irritated about that. Anyway, we can also turn on mirror at this point in time, if I can remember which thing that's supposed to be and where that is. Somewhere there's mirror. Right? And that does an interesting thing that we don't want it to do. Okay. Z. We're only going to select one side with mirror on. There we go. And it didn't do what I want. Well, no, it did exactly what I was looking for. Although it did extrude it. But you know what? That's okay. I'm okay with that. It's fine. So mirror keeps everything straight. Although that's really twisted. Why did you do that? You were, it's because of this. Everything is on this side of the midline. Right? There we go. That's right. We can use all of these faces. It is totally okay. Right? So now we'll do this, and we'll do this to give us a nice... George, leave it alone. Oh, I'm going to have to go kill the cat. Hang on. It's you. That's you. That's you. I don't want you actually doing that. All right. Back from killing the cat. Okay. I'm going to do this so that it gives it sort of that front look like this. I'm kind of looking for that, right? We're also going to bring it down a little. Except we really don't want to do that. We want to make it even. So we're going to do this and then bring it down. Oh, for crying out loud. George, leave it alone. You're a past. There we go. Yes, you. You're a pest. Pesty goodness. Right? Well, his problem is that he has decided that he doesn't like stagnant water. So his new thing is to climb into toilets, which yuck on like so many levels. So we've been closing the lids on the toilets. No problem. Keeps him out of the toilet. Except now I'm hearing him over there trying to open the lids on the toilets. I'm like, really? Really? You're a pest. No opening lids on toilets, huh? Okay, back to work. Slave. So now that we've done this, we've got kind of the shape we're looking for right here, right? We're kind of looking at this shape. So we're going to go on ahead and we've got mimicked that shape sort of there, haven't we? It looks good. And it's equal on both sides. It's important. That's important, George. Now we can, I don't know if we can mirror it the other direction. We don't want to mirror it the other direction. So, okay, so now we take this, we bring this back. Don't lick my, what is this with you? What's your story today, goober? What is your story? What's your problem? You're goofy. All right. And this is going to come up. And this probably will also come up just a little bit. Not as much, though. And actually, let's go ahead and bring this up, too. And then we take one more look at the front here. We've got an angle going for it from the side. So we're going to take this guy here and push him back. And take this guy and push him back. I kind of like the idea of leaving it a little less back because it looks kind of cool that way. And now we have sort of a thing. We got to watch this. This is a problem, right? So we look at this and what we end up with is this weird shape because this isn't a natural shape. There's no triangles here. So we're going to have to figure out what to do about that. And what we really are going to do is we're going to take this front piece right here and push it out like so until that flattens out on that side. It's a passenger car. I'm not expecting miracles out of it. Right? But that way we don't have that weird, bizarre shape that we had before. But now looking at it from this point of view, it's acceptable. Right? As a sort of a front car cockpit sort of thing. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it because really it just has to be a background car. It's going to be a car in the background. It's going to sit on a street somewhere and be. And besides, I can make different window shapes on the front by changing the texture map on it, and it'll be different cars, and people won't know the difference. You won't really know the difference. But what I do want to do is use this piece to get this shape out of it. So we're going to look here. We're going to copy this. We're going to paste. No, you know what we're going to do? We're actually going to go into object mode and paste it. And that way we can go here. And that way this shape will be the same shape because we want to do that middle section, right? This is the middle part of the vehicle that is whatever. Vertex paint? No. Let's do edit mode. Hi. Wake up. Okay. I'm going to take this vertex and put it right there. And this vertex goes right here. And docks. And so does this vertex. Work. I was looking into the new ID Buzz, which is Volkswagen's bus, electric bus, and I'm looking longingly at the bus. I think that'll be cool. So now we've got sort of a secondary thing going for it here. And what we're going to do, knowing how this works in the front, we're going to take this and bring it in. It still has the mirror attribute on it, so we can make that work. And now we have sort of a extended cab, right? We've got the front cab, we've got the back seats for your kids, or the middle seats, right? And then let's talk a little bit about the back. My thought, really, now that I think about this, we've kind of got this going for it. I feel like an engine might be kind of cool just sitting on the back somewhere. It won't work really for these trucks. But we can also talk that maybe it has a cab over engine that's a sort of pseudo, I don't know. Anyway, so we've got like the front and we've got the middle, right? And I think this would be a cool thing to put like an engine that looks kind of like this. So from the back, you're sort of looking at it like so. And this thing just kind of sticks out like so, but not entirely. So like that. And maybe it has runners that go to either side. So you don't, I mean, you know, a thing that it just does. So it has like this runner thing on either side. And then we just attach wheels to that. And this is its engine doo-wop. Doodly woobly doo. Beedly boop. Bop, bop, bop. It doesn't really matter. Or we could make the engine flat like so and give it a what's its like that. And then you can put it on the cab over back like this, right? Maybe that's what we want. Right? Because then it won't look as cool on the back of a car, but we can use the same engine piece for everything. That's probably our better option. Right? So the engine is just a pack, you know, click. What is your problem, George? Like, seriously, leave it alone. Now he's after the door to the bathroom. Okay, so we're going to create an object that doesn't look anything like this. Stop. I like how he understands that the knob is what opens the door. So he's attacking the knob. So we're going to take and go into object mode. We're going to add a mesh. I'm just going to add a cube back here. And we're just going to stick it on the back temporarily. because we're going to look at like how we want this to look. So we're going to take this and put it in edit mode. Make sure we're still in naked mode. We'll go all the way to this here. And we say extrude. And then we then take the scale and we just scale it down a little. Right? Then we hit extrude. And we're still in scale. Let's scale this down a little too, like so. Then that gives us an object on the back that looks like a pack of some sort, which would be a battery pack and motor combination unit. So we'll look from the back and we'll take this side and just move it out to the edge of the vehicle, like so. Then we'll take this side and we'll move it out also to the edge of the vehicle, right about there. And then we'll take this and we'll pull it down to, right about there. Looks good. And now we have a motor pack, right? That's the pack on the back of your car. And then we'll put a cross beam on it. Cylinder, right? Cylinder will rotate. No, that's not what we wanted to do. Cylinder, which we will rotate this way. I'll look for 90 degree. Yeah, it's good enough. Good enough for government work. And move it back to here and move it down to the middle of this sort of strut point. And we'll scale it down. One of my neighbors has a dog, which when the neighbor leaves the dog out, the dog cries all day. That's all the dog does is cry all day long. I mean, and does not let up, just will not. And it's driving me crazy. The dog sounds so horrible, but the truth is nothing's wrong. It's not hurting the dog. The dog isn't dying. And so really, I don't have much of a leg to stand on with, they need to do something about this dog, but it's still the dog never gives up, just whines and cries all day, starts first thing in the morning and cries until they get home at 5 p.m. all day. And it's loud. I can hear it through my doors, which are closed, and everything. And so it's just so horrible. And it's like, people. And the dog's fine. The dog is totally cool. The dog just knows that at some point, people get fed up with him crying. So he just cries until somebody deals with him. So, okay. This guy here is the engine pack in the back, right? That's the part of the structure, which is the back drive train, so to speak. Pet dragons would be cool, but I think that it would be fine up until you have a, hazard of some sort, like, a fire, a lot of fire. So there's that. Okay. Now the drivetrain, this section here, that looks good. We can do that. So these two need to be the same critter. We'll move them out of the way. And this section here is one critter. I'm going to copy it and paste it, put this out of here, and then we're going to make the next piece, which is a flatbed for this. I'm going to go back into edit mode. We're going to edit just this guy here. All right. I'm going to take a look at that. That looks good. It's a flatbed. We'll extend out the bed so that it's not quite as weird as it looks right here. There we go. So now that's a nice little truck flatbed. I kind of like that it has a divot on the bottom that extends out a little bit. That makes it work. Right? Well, that's the other thing. You can take these basic shapes and we can make a train out of it, which is what we're going to do. We're doing trucks and cars right now, but we'll do trains too in a minute. Because trains will be the same critter, right? Now I'll have a short flatbed, which is the size of this guy. But really, a truck has this and then the bed. Because you don't put this after the bed. You want the room in the bed. So we're going to actually extend that bed. So let's go extend that bed. There we go. Because really, if we do this, we're going to do this, then this, and this for the pickup. Right, that's the pickup setup rig. Because you want the motor and you want the wheels. And you'll just stick the motor and the wheels in between the bed. And that way you can stick things off the edge of the bed if you need to. And we'll have extended length back wheels that go out back here to right here for the center of balance-ish-ness. Because we're going to have to figure out how this all works. Okay, so now we have a bed. That's good. And now let's talk about the cab over design. Right, we're going to do the cab over next. This is now this guy. We'll put him there, and we'll work on the cab over. The cab over, probably about a little taller. Not much taller, though. And looks more like that. And since it's a truck, I'm not as worried. Oh, I am worried about that, though. That didn't go in well. I'm not as worried about it being square as much. Because nobody cares that their truck is squarish looking and bulky. So cab over trucks are always kind of a thing. I also don't think they'll be as long in the front. So let's do this, and we'll take this guy and just push him back a little. Right to about there. That's the cab over version of this. So you've got kind of the kind of thing going. The more I think about this, though, the more I think it'd be kind of cool if it kind of went in a little in the back so that the engine you can kind of see sticking out of the back, but not really, When you think about this has got to have a person sitting like this, right? And here you've got them sitting up more upright than they do here where their legs are extended out. So we want more upper room for them to have the ability to sit up straight because they're instead of leaning back and stuff like that. That is kind of an important extinction. And even though it should be just a little, there we go. Not horribly bulky, right? Now we can talk about trucks being cab overs and that kind of thing. And we're going to have a couple of long legs that go to the back for the back wheels and short legs for the front. Because on a cab over truck, they're going to be right next to each other going either direction. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that we're going to have to kind of work with a little, and that's not going to be a problem. The next thing we're going to work on is the arm, the control arm, right? So let's talk about the driving arm, if you will. I'm going to put this in the back of the cab over so that we can get an idea of what's going on here as far as a driving arm goes, because we're going to need to put that driving arm in right here, going this way to here. Oh no. So you're not thinking you're going to make it to Mile High Con, Donald? Because that would be sad. There we go, at a car here and a truck here. Yeah, I mean, we'd miss you at I'm not going to go to Mile High Con, but for a little bit on Saturday. Oh, that's a bummer. That really is sucky. Sorry, dude. And we're not going to go for very long either. Usually I go and hang out with the guys in operations, but they are really going to be busy this time. So I'm just, I'm kind of like, we're going to add another cube. I'm going to move the cube back here. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to discuss the engine wheelie widget. Operations is my favorite place. It always is and always will be. There was an ops guy back in the day. And I'll still be an ops guy till the day I die. I'm going to bring this in to give it just a little bit of that kind of feel of this. I'm going to bring it down so that it covers the wheel unit. And I'll bring this back. Bring this back too, because I don't need it. I need it to be enough to cover. So we need to bring this up. I'm going to do this because we want it to look space-agey, right? So we kind of want it to trail a little to the back. Right, we're going to kind of have it do this. Like that. I'm going to take this guy, we're going to extrude to the bottom of the vehicle, right? I'm going to actually do this a couple of times so that I can have some room before the back section of the arm. And then we're going to go here and extrude back, right? This is a long arm. And do this. And yeah, I'm kind of getting a little worried about you, Donald. You've been kind of getting on the rough end here. So this is now officially under the bed. That means the wheel's not going to work because I got to get out past this bed to put that wheel on. So we know now we need to kind of, first of all, I think this entire section kind of can do this, and that wouldn't kill us any. You know what I mean? Like start moving it sort of out of the wheelbase. Let's look at the top. Like, could we move this to here? Because that's what we're going to need. We're going to need to get it. Yeah, that's what I kind of read on Facebook, and I was worried that you'd ended up over in the ER. Okay, so let's talk. This has got to go forward here, and so does this, because they need to clear the truck bed, which is back here. And this isn't clearing the cab either. So, as space agey as I want this to be, it's going to look funny if it doesn't actually clear the cab. So we're going to have to clear the cab here. We can kind of bring it back a little, make it kind of that way. There we go. I mean, technically speaking, both of these should be a little bit further back like so. Right? Now we're clear of the arm is clear of the body of the vehicle. So we can start going back to building the structure that holds the wheel on. Yes. It's fixed. I don't think there's any need to make it scrunchy. It's a fixed unit. But I do feel like we could do this number and be fine. I also think the wheel's going to end up way back here, and it doesn't need to be that far back. I think here's where that wheel ends up. There we go, just like that. And that gives me sort of a, it pulls it back a little. I don't know why it should go down, though. It really shouldn't. Right? It's going down, and it really doesn't need to. It could just stay level. Okay, we're just going to add a torus real quick just to give us an idea of what a wheel will look like there. So that's all we're going to do, just so that we have some context. There we go. Of where the wheel should sit, so that we can now kind of get an idea of where this wheel's going to be. Wheelie it will be. This wheelie it will. I think I'm fitting. All right. So that's kind of what we're looking at now. So we're going to need to, of course, extend that arm piece. But we can kind of see ejector seat. Ejector seat. And now that I'm looking at it like this, it doesn't really need to be this far down below the hull of the truck either. You know what I mean? Like, I've got all of this stuff that is in here, and it really doesn't need to be, right? All of these guys are low, and they don't need to be. They can be up here, right? Up there on the hull of the truck. Like so. It can come up and sit on the truck hull. It's not going to hurt it. This guy probably needs to come out a little. Well, no, maybe he doesn't. Move him up too. Right. I'm going to move these back. Move this guy forward. I mean, this is a practical piece, so. Right, now let's give it a look. Right, now that's looking a lot more like some kind of interesting little cab over truck. It looks cute. It looks floofy. We're good. It's important for trucks to look floofy. You just don't know it. Little known, scarcely talked about. Trucks must be floofy. Why does this look like it's tipped down? Maybe it's a top thing I need to look at. Maybe so. Yeah, it's a top thing I need to look at. Okay, so we'll move you to like so that it's not as weird. Move that to there. Also not as weird. Move you back a little bit to give kind of some relief to this grid here, because we got kind of we're stressing the mesh a little. And then of course we'll start making the gearbox back here cover the wheel, because it needs to. There we go. Now that should look a little less stressed. A little bit more robust, right? So I got kind of that kind of thing going for it. That's a much more robust design. A robust is the thing that they fought in Voltron. Okay. Engine pack, transmission axle, rear wheel, arm, rear wheel. The question is, can I just use that exact same critter for the front wheel? And why not? Why not just use that same critter for the front wheel? Right, just flip it around and go the other direction. So let's do that. Let's take a look at it. Object mode. We'll objectify it. Copy, paste. Going from the top view, we're going to take this guy and move him this way. and see how far forward, like right here. Maybe. You know what? We should do this though on the same side so that we're not confused. You know how you do how you flip it so that it's exactly the same on the other side? You do this till it's -1 global. Like that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this from this point of view. Like, how aligned are we? All right, that was pretty good alignment there. Because we want the wheels to be sort of aligned up the same way, right? And that actually looks pretty solid. So if we were to select this guy and say, select this guy, select the guy, there we go, copy, paste, this wheel would be way up here. And now we kind of look at what the cab over vehicle would look like, right? It's got kind of a wide stance, probably a little wider than we want. So the front arms should be shorter. That's what I'm thinking. Right, so we'll do that. We'll go to the side, go into naked mode. Naked mode. We want this wheel to be about there. Maybe there. So we'll go into this, go into edit, and we'll just grab the front pod, which looks like we need to kind of go with all of the pods here and shrink all of this back to about there. And then this guy needs to shrink back to about there. There we go. And now we have a futuristic pickup. Right? I mean, it's just pretty much what it is. It is what it is. Looks kind of cool. It's got the same ring control mechanisms that we saw with the GPV, which holds the wheels in the same sort of way, which I may come back in for a faster repeat or rebuild on the GPV to make it look more in this aesthetic. And I actually think the front arm probably should lean back. So we're going to go do that. Take this and lean it back like so. But we definitely have the same design aesthetic here. I feel like this just catches people right through here. One of those things where you're like, you keep catching my arm on this or whatever. I don't know. So I'm going to push this all the way back so that it's level and only bring it in a hair right there. Bring it up. Which didn't work exactly like I wanted it to. It giving a little bit of a sort of a rakish feel. There we go. The 2322 Ford Snurgleblatt. All of my trucks are going to be called Snurgleblatt. Nothing like a Ford Snurkelblatt to make sure you can get your work done properly and stuff. It's a Ford Snurkelblatt. Okay. Here's our design. Looks pretty solid. You can see us printing out a bunch of these little guys and then having them, you know. Ooh, motorcycles. Yeah, we need a motorcycle, don't we? We definitely need a motorcycle. Would motorcycles be encased? Like sort of like the Akira bike, except with more shell over the back, like a Tron motorcycle? Think we could do that? I think that'd be kind of cool, actually. I mean, does that sound like that'd be something we could do? Something a little like Tron-esque? Okay, one of the things I am discovering, though, is turning this wheel on this cab over isn't going to work because the wheels are going to clash with the hull. So we're going to have to bring the cab over in just a hair on this so that we can get less messed up wheel operation, right? It doesn't have to be a little bit more like that because that wheel has to be able to turn. Because I'm okay with motorcycles, but the major reason that I want to make them encased is, and it's totally a practical reason. A motorcycle in this world is going to be, anytime I draw a motorcycle, you have to draw the person. And since I physically draw people and are like literally, then every time I put a motorcycle on the background, it's always going to be, oh, I gotta go draw the little dude on the motorcycle. It's so, it'd be like, I don't want to do this. This is a stupid dude in the motorcycle. So, okay. We brought the cab over in a little, and now it looks more like those Suzuki Carries that I adore so much in Japan. And in a minute here, once we take our break, we're going to take a look at how to do this with passenger cars, right? So let's go ahead and stand up, though. Everybody stand up. Oh, man, there we go. So I've been suffering from horrible leg cramps and stomach cramps like across my abdomens. They actually call them muscle spasms. They're not called cramps. They're only called cramps, I guess, if you are running track or something. I don't know. Anyway, they're called muscle spasms. And I was looking them up, and I've been thinking that they were part of back problems and having back issues. And what it's turning out is, no, it's just that I choose to not exercise as much. And as I get older, it becomes more of an issue. You know, it's a thing. And so what's happening is that some people, when they get older, get muscle spasms. It's just the nature of the beast. It's how we are. So I have been working now for the last week or so. Obviously, standing desks are a thing, you know, and stuff like that. But I've also been kind of trying to work on being more flexible and moving more and things like that. So it's been helping a little, but I think it's going to help more in the long run. So anyway, We're going to talk motorcycles next. Let's talk motorcycles. Computer broadcast lights. You're not going to understand what that means. Lights. Computer broadcast lights. There you go. Better. Because I've got like purple and green going back here, and I like the purple and green. Yep, that won't work. Because we got work to do. Alrighty. Now that we've done this, here's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to go into object mode. And we now have a truck, right? We can make this work. And then what was it? It was like I programmed my Alexa to respond to the C word. Sadly, we were watching Star Trek the other day. I'm sorry about your truck, Kevin. You know, my house fired a bunch of photon torpedoes. Sorry about your truck, Kevin. Okay, looking at this, we can take now, let's take a look at this and see what happens when we take the cab over out and the back trunk out and then put in the forward piece of the car. That actually doesn't look bad. But I feel kind of like in this instance, it might need to be reversed. Like we might need to use this arm in the front for it. Because we're going to move this guy to the back. Whoa, we're going to move this guy and the pod to the back here, right? So what we might have is this. That's the drive wheel. And this is the front wheel. Let's copy and paste that over here and flip it around. Move this back here as a something else we will worry about later. No, that's a good question. I know. Everybody drives down the middle. No, but that actually is a very valid question. What side of the road do people drive on? Okay. And then I put the wheel there. And this might be what we are looking at. For our car. We'll take the back piece of the car and put it right here. And take all of these pieces here and move them. Well, somewhat ugly, but at least it's understandable, right? It actually looks unique. You know, no question about its uniqueness. I kind of like the way that it looks, because then you can put taillights right here, right? I mean, like, you put taillights there. It actually, not only does it look unique, and it's ugly, but as I stare at it for a minute or two, I'm like, well, that's not bad actually. Looks kind of cool. You know what's an interesting side effect of this design is that there isn't it's got an automatic mud splash right here, right? Because if the wheels are turning this way, it's going to splatter mud this way, which will get caught up on the bottom of these arms. So it doesn't really need fenders because it's already kind of doing its job already. I mean, unless you're going backwards at a very high speed, at which time it's splattering mud this way. But really, don't drive your vehicle backwards. It's just kind of a thing. But what I see here is we use two arms, one short, one long. It works just fine. We get kind of a car like this. We get a different kind of car. You can get a sports car, which would lay this piece down more, and as opposed to like a family sedan, which this is. So I'm really liking kind of the universal design of this. We'll need one wheel and all four of these arms. And then we'll have a auto vehicle building set, construction set. We've got a bed of a truck. We've got a cab over. We've got sort of the wheels of a thing. I may make a Jeep-esque vehicle, which, in fact, let's go on ahead and do that. Let's make a Jeep-esque vehicle. You wouldn't want to sit on that engine pod. Although really you could. I mean, it's not like the engine pod's going to fall apart or explode, or this is the future. We don't blow stuff up anymore. So we used to blow stuff up, but we don't anymore. So if we take our engine pod now and rotate him 90 degrees flat, and put him here like so, we could take this guy and put him back here. Right? So now we've got a front and a back wheel and an engine pod, effectively. Yeah, this would work. And then we'll just put object mode, add mesh cube. I'll take this cube. And go to naked mode so that I can start editing stuff. I'm going to take this cube, edit. I mean, it's effectively a Jeep, right? This would be kind of cool too. These are the, it's not a complicated vehicle. It's an engine pod with a box stuck to the back of it and 4 wheels. And we'll go to the side. And like legit, this is going to be like the most simple vehicle ever. And give it a little bit of look. Maybe a little military vehicle, but it's not going to be that bad. And we'll take this face, thank you, and extrude it forward so that there can be some, lights or something, anything. And it's a Jeep. It's not supposed to be pretty, but still. Give it at least a little style. There we go. Those are for lights because this is an engine pod. So it's just got lights in the front. You got to be able to see something on the road. I feel like if you put the gearboxes together, like here and here, you can use the engine on both wheels. Right? They just snap together and then snap in there. And then this gear turns this gear too. So you can use them on any wheel base you want. I feel like I'm doing this wrong. I really feel like I'm doing this wrong. Because I feel like that should be open in there. I'm thinking kind of this through real quick here. The pause here is trying to think through how this Jeep works. I mean, because like Jeeps, we're going to see a lot more of Jeeps because they're military. Well, no, I guess they're just generic utility vehicles, right? So, I mean, they don't have to be military per se, but we can certainly do. Here's the light rigs for these guys. Just sits on top of the engine, and then it's like a mail truck, right? I mean, that's really what we're thinking about here. Kind of the generic utility mail truck. I mean, nobody's claiming Jeeps are pretty. So, there's no reason to assume that these guys would be gorgeous and beautiful. They're Jeeps, general purpose vehicles. Let me bring this back in a little. Light utility trucks, Okay. Not as much of an internal canter as the sedan, but a little bit of an internal canter. There we go. That's a design. Not awesome, but it's it's a thing. Everything should be sealed, though. The more I think about this, the more I think that all vehicles should be sealed. The assumption being that somewhere along the line you might have an explosive decompression. If you do, your car can hold life support for a while. I mean, I think convertibles would be the ultimate risk. Right? I mean, because you'd like, oh man. Yeah, it's pretty but ugly. I mean, like, that's sort of what I was thinking too. It's like, it's very utilitarian and exactly what we expect out of a vehicle. It's a Jeep. It's like, it does what Jeeps do. But that is the question. I mean, yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thought. These are the vehicles that deliver the mail, and these are the vehicles that, deliver milk, and they deliver military soldiers, and, just generic sort of, that's what they do, sort of things. So it's a Jeep. It works. We have an impossible zone, though. This is impossible. So we're going to have to do something about that. To relax that just a hair here. Right, we're going to have to relax that down. The dog is out there howling again. Such an abused animal. So abused. Here we go. We're just relaxing this piece right here, so that it's not so stressed. I'm just making these match. I didn't put the mirror on here, so we've got a little bit of we have to do what we do to one side, we have to do the other sort of thing. We can extend this hull though, can't we? Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think we can extend the hull to either side of the vehicle. So we will do that. There. That way it's got some width to it. I feel like it's kind of crunching into this a little bit, but that's okay. That'll be fine. Right? It's not elegant, but it works. But it's good for transit and transport. And actually, if that's going to be the case, this should probably be clearer, because the idea is you could have one that has all of the bottom and the back open for transit. So this would be like a van. In fact, that's probably what this probably is closer to, is a van. I know. I was like, everybody was like, well, you just pulled that in. I totally did. But now I'm kind of thinking it can be more like that. And then that way these can be just big doors, and you open it up and there you pull out all the fish that you've got for this or whatever. It's a van. It's a van, right? It's a cargo van. Also works for cargoing people. Make sure it's in naked mode. In fact, now I'm kind of like, well, we can't go too far over the engine pod, but I mean, because there's, a dashboard right here, and that's going to be what you've got. The person has to sit here. There's nothing you can do about that. We can't cab over it, though. Yeah, I think all of these cars have gull wing doors of some sort. Or open and slide back probably is what everybody's got. Like van doors. Or open and slide forward, I would think, might also be a thing. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I mean, no matter what, a person has to sit here. We lose a lot of space up here because they're sitting in this front part. They can sit straight, but I mean, thinking about this, feet, legs, body, they're way back here. You know what I mean? Like, the more I think about this, the more I'm like, well, they're way, way, way back there. The dog is still whining. Yeah, like the sliding rails that can drop. Yeah. There was a car once, the doors slid underneath like that. I wonder if maybe the doors could slide on top, you know? It's a thought. Probably would have been better if I'd made round cars, but I'm not going to make round cars because they're very hard to make that work in the 3D world. Not in the 3D world. It's easy to make them work in the 3D world. That's not the problem. The problem is the way that I do my ships and things like that and everything in the background. If you do something that's round, you can't draw a line around the round, right? So anything that's got a rounded shape, I'm going to have to go in during the drawing section and make sure that I draw little circles and around the outside edges of all the round things in the background. Whereas if I do it angled, I can draw on the map. I can draw a black line and outline each one of the squares on these things. With like the wheels here, what we're going to do with the wheels is I'm going to make them white on the inside and black on the outside. And then we're going to actually make a different kind of Taurus, which has got a flat edge on the inside, so that there'll be black along the outside edges, the tire, and then the inside edges will still be rigid. It'll be square like this. So showing you sort of a cross section of how the tire looks, it's going to be round like this, but then I'm going to make this flat like that. That way I can draw a line here and draw a line here, draw a line here and draw a line here, and it'll still look like a line. Yeah, heavy cargo would be heavy duty doors. I agree. So, in fact, let's go on ahead and let's talk a little bit about wheels, because we need to do wheels at some point here. So let's go on ahead and just do that. Let's go back into object mode. I'm going to take this tire here, and we're going to zoom in on it. Right, so we're going to look at the sort of the ring of the tire here. And I've kind of got the shape that I'm looking for already. But what we're actually going to do is probably build the object and then lathe it. A little harder. I'm not really sure I can remember how to do that, but that's okay. But the alternative here is to try to catch all of these points in here and do what I'm looking for, which I think would be really hard to do. Well, I think what we really have is we have a multi-purpose unit. This is the multi-purpose unit. The unit is a wheel so that it doesn't scrape the ground. It's got some kind of rubber tracer along the bottom so that when the vehicle rolls along your hull of your ship or inside when the vehicle's rolling along the inside of like the Polaris or whatever, it doesn't scrape the roads, right? It just rolls along freely and gives it some contact to the surface. Inside those wheels, I think then you have a magnetic field generator of some sort, which sucks it down onto the magnet or onto the metal plating. So you've got a road and it's got a magnet that's going dunk and sticking it to the road. It just also has a little rubber padding, which is the tire, which keeps it from scraping the road, obviously. And you can adjust how strong that magnetic pull is. So do you really want it to grip? You can do that. You know, that's part of the controller on the front there. It's one of the reasons why we don't have to worry so much about strength down. Now, on the other side of this, I think then you also have an impeller on the back that grabs the wheel and pulls like this. So it's kind of pulling the wheel along. And then when you're going forward, it's pushing the wheel this way, right? And that's why the little arms stick forward and the wheel kind of goes around like this. But I think that all of it's got kind of a different principle. Tracks are great, but then they tear and then they break and then you lose the tracks and then you end up with it rolling along on wheels anyway. And tracks are really more useful for multiple terrains where you don't want the wheelbases, you don't want it to go up onto something and then drop down like this into something that would poke into the vehicle. That's mostly why we use tracks. Yeah, well, like planets and things like that, I think that you'd have a little bit of a different thing. But that's when we start talking about the GPV. The GPV then has legs, right? So if it gets too rough for the GPV, it just deploys its legs and starts walking along on the, brings up the little spidery legs and starts walking. And that's what a GPV does. So for multiple, yeah, I mean, it distributes a lot of weight, but there's not a lot of weight on these vehicles. So they're no longer heavy. They have a very light battery pack and then a motor. Because future, because science fiction. Okay. I swear to God, that dog. And real quick. Can I call you in 30 minutes? Question mark. Go. Did you not send it? There we go. That's James calling and saying, hey. And I'm like, hi. Can I call you in 30 minutes? Okie dokie. Let's talk about object mode. We want to make things. Right? Who calls me in the middle of my show? Okay. Who calls me in the middle of my show and says things? Obviously, James, because, that's a thing. Now we have to figure out how to make a new, is it maybe modeling? Can I add mesh? It's in modeling. Okay. Go to top view. We'll go way over here where the wheel is. There we go. And we'll zoom in. The Royal Navy is the Royal Navy. Are you thinking you need to join the Royal Navy now? I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not disagreeing on this. Poly build. No. Knife. No. Extrude. No. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to add a plane. All right. I'm going to figure out where the hell I put that plane, but then we're going to add the plane. There we go. And move the plane to the spot where we can see it. All right. Because we're going to build here. We're going to take you and do this and do this. And then we're going to extrude and extrude again and extrude again. My thought here, we can bring this out, bring this out. You know what I should do? I should say, is this urgent? Because that's important. Cool. Not urgent. Because if it was urgent, then maybe I should talk to him. You know? There are family members involved that are similar to family members here. That didn't make any sense. What I'm trying to say is that he and I are buddies enough that his family is like family to me. So there's like a concern, if his daughter's having problems or whatever, if my kid's having problems, we sort of share the burden. So it's important to know whether this is an issue or not. He says, no, not urgent. So, okay, cool. Okay, so we're going to kind of do this. This part here is going to end up being, and just give it a little bit more of a point here, I think. I feel like he's a little bit more tighter. Right? It's a little bit like rounder. I want this to be kind of more like a little bit more like a tire. Make it a little rounder. Right? Rounding it out a little, right? And then this part back here, we're actually going to do this. This part's going to be white. Right? Until the warp core breaches, at which time it's urgent. Why didn't you say that in the first place? Nobody listens to me. So there you go. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this guy. We're going to put him near the center of things. Okay, that's not good. Good heavens. Oh, we're not in the right. The reason is because we're not in naked mode. We need to be in naked mode, as usual. Great. Okay. The reason we have to worry about this, of course, is that object mode, we're going to take all of this stuff. No, all of this. Oh, all right. All of this stuff, we're going to move it out of the way. Move it over here because we need the centroid. I'm going to take this guy, which now apparently is attached to part of the wheel, which means that when I do the work on this, I can't get rid of the wheel. So we're going to have to talk about this a little here. Like, I like that shape. Too bad I'm going to have to delete it. Okay, let's start all over again. Add mesh plane. And we're going to go right about here. Edit mode. My pieces. Let's start all over again. This time we're going to do it. Add modifier mirror. And we'll just do this. remember how this works. Remember, don't do the wrong thing here. Take the mirror off. Move this to here. And now add modifier mirror. Okay. And that way it'll now act similarly. You know what you could have done? Although it is kind of interesting, right? The wheel just sits there and deflates out. That'd be funny. I don't want the mirror modifier on here. It sounded like a good idea, and now I'm realizing it's not a good idea. We'll just make this work the way it's supposed to work, the hard way. Okay. Kind of like an airbag system. So it just kind of, you're driving along, and as soon as you need it, it goes, and there it is. There's your wheels. You know. I mean, honestly, I don't think that these inflate at all. I think that really what we're dealing with is they're rubber, but only so that they have a little bit of bounce to them. But I don't think that it's a matter of inflation. I don't think they're inflated at all. I think they're just tubes that, bounce on things, and we're all good. Logos on curves to help drawing. Okay. Take the object. Now, object, add modifier. What's the one I'm looking for? It's lathe or something to that effect. I feel like it's probably this screw function, but that feels like that's going to go. Yeah, no, it's lathe. Okay, we're close. Because that's not it. That's not it. Okay. How do I get it to make a tire? Because this is the right way. Oh, that's not good. Don't play with that one. Not that one either. We need to go the other direction. I need the centroid to be somewhere else. Close. Because I think it is this screw function, but the screw function's screwy. Yeah, because that's fine, but I need to find where its input mask is, or where its anchor point is, because that might be the problem. Okay, I know what the problem is. And its period, I think, is the control. We've got to move the axis. Somehow move the axis before we... That's the world. Don't mess with the world. This dot needs to move. I had the wrong attire. Blender, move axis. It's not that easy. It cannot possibly be that easy. Yeah, see, that's not the critter. Pivot point. No, I don't want to watch a video, guys. S and drag. Aha! Look at me. Look at me figure this stuff out. Okay. No. Oh, maybe. Nope. That didn't work. Okay. Pivot center for rotating scaling. Well, that's fine, but I'm not seeing how to move it. It just says, yeah, it can. Move to collection, duplicate objects, set origin. Because we need the origin to move. Nope. Oh, man. Sometimes these programs are tread lightly. Okay. Okay, well, here's what we're going to do. Edit mode. First of all, I feel like this guy needs to be a little larger. It's a tire. Like the Land Rover. It's a tire. Okay, we think that's very funny, though. And how Brent puts up with you and me is beyond me. Donald. He sure does tolerate us, though, doesn't he? He's a good buddy. We're gonna sit here, we're gonna make jokes. We're just gonna. It's not gonna stop. It is not gonna stop. There we go. All right. So now that we've done this, do I need to maybe be here? Aha, look at that. The pivot point has moved. And modifier. Ha-ha! Look at us. And we have a tire. See you next week, Brent. Have a good day. Brent's definitely a trooper. You're putting up with us a lot. I'm just saying, Brent. We appreciate you, just so you know. All right, we've got a wheel. Wheelie we do. The wheel's large, but that's okay. We can work with this. Bong, 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 bong. Okay, I'm never done. What am I saying? Yeah. Okay, let's take and scale and then move. Let's just get an idea of where we are here. Like how much can we scale this guy down? Yeah, see, now I feel kind of like he's too large. So let's not do that. Or like not large enough in the center. So let's go back into edit mode. And we will say, because we know it was there, we want to make it a little larger. So we'll do this. And we'll say pivot point. Move it to maybe there. Maybe there. Now we'll add that modifier onto it and see what happens. See that? That feels a lot larger as a wheel. We can do that. That's a better wheel. Thinner tires, because it's like their circumference. Thinner tires should work better, I think. That's my feeling on this. Welcome to my TED Talk. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And it looks cooler. I feel like something, though, slightly between those two. Like there. Right? That looks about right. Yeah, that looks more like these guys. So now what I can do is I can draw a line on this face and then make this black. And the wheels will be black, and it'll have a little line and like a little hubcap thing inside, and it'll look great. It'll look awesome. It'll look beautiful. It'll look beautiful. Okay. All right. Now we've accomplished this major job. So there we go. We've managed to put it so that the wheel structure is there. We've got various vehicle parts. We can now put little vehicles together and make mix and match and stuff like that and get different kind of combinations of vehicles. I'll also take these pieces here in a minute and I'll export them out by putting UV maps on them so that I can then take the UV maps into Photoshop and draw little doors and things like that. So it'll look good. So that's where we are. And that's where we're going. Have a great weekend, guys. I will see you all on Monday, where we might still be working on this. It's a thing. You know how it goes, guys. Hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. And until then, keep your eyes on the stars. Goodbye. Computer, good night.